instantly I knew that we weren't going to be able to survive another payroll for the company, and it was coming.
In the thick of it at the minute, every business goes through cash flow. Cash flow is king. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's completely true. We're going through it at the minute. There's always cash flow issues in the business. There's always a juggling act to do every month. Predominantly when you get towards payroll or VAT bills, there's some preempting to do and some planning and some juggling of funds. And there are occasions where you have to get maybe a bridge loan in, or you have to beg, steal and borrow from people just to get you over that. Because the thing with cash flow is, even though cash flow is death for a business, it doesn't actually mean that it's, a really bad business. It doesn't mean that your business is going down the pan. There could be some, issues in there. It could highlight a few issues, for example, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a disaster, that you're running a bad business. For example, Start a Video, at the minute, we've got over £100,000 worth of invoices out there ready to be paid, with more being sent out, regularly. The biggest problem is getting that £100,000 in as quick as possible to help us with cash flow. And the problem we've got at the minute is 50% of that £100,000 is overdue. And in a business, that's killer. So we're fighting that at the minute, and I'm a week and a half away from payroll. We've got VAT due next month, which could be a big one for us, and obviously we're continuing to operate, but we're operating on those funds that are already in, which are quickly being exhausted, and the money that we're waiting to come in is causing me problems at the minute. We've not missed payroll once in the many years that we've been trading. But there have been occasions where it's literally at 3 minutes past midnight, that on the night of the staff's due to be paid, we've just about made payroll. So it can get really close, really tight, and with that comes a lot of stress. So I'm looking at the minute at what's going on with these clients that aren't paying us on time, and also looking at the services that we're offering. What's the most profitable service that we're offering? What's the least most profitable service that we're offering? It's difficult to avoid the cash flow issues. All businesses go through it. It's just how you deal with it mentally and also technically. How do you avoid those moments where you have to have awkward conversations with staff saying that you can't afford to pay them, and pre-planning and getting ahead, and then dealing with the depression that sometimes can set in when you've got no money in the bank and you've got stuff to pay for. So we're going through that at the minute. Plenty of work coming in, loads of work coming in, companies growing, lots of clients. So we're not dead in the water in that respect. In fact, we're very, very healthy in that respect. The problem we've got is getting money from clients, some of our clients, which is causing us some big issues.
My name's Ben Davis. I work for Starter Media, and my role is creative and project manager.
My name's Luke, and I'm an editor.
I'm Saxon Ricks, and I'm production director at Starter Video.
So it's no secret that most businesses, the percentage will be massive, most businesses go through cash flow issues.
We're a few days away from payroll. It's July's payroll, and again, we're chasing clients. It's that whole kind of same old cash flow story. It's that vicious circle that a lot of businesses get into.
I think I was slightly more privy to the cash flow issues than probably most other people, apart from Danny, obviously. Yeah.
It's another one of those constant monthly battles. It is constant at the minute, but it is with a lot of businesses. It's something that I'm having to deal with myself, as well as doing all the other stuff in the business. So I've got a couple of days to get my hands on the cash to level with payroll, which I'm confident is going to happen, actually. We've not missed payroll once in the whole time I've been in business. I don't intend on starting now, but it does seem to get closer and closer every month. But yeah, cash flow, constant battle, but we're getting on top of it, we're getting there.
This was for me, the biggest problem out of everything that was going on was the psychological side of the issues. So the minute you're in financial difficulty, the minute that debt starts to build up, and when you're going through the issues that we were going through, the psychological strain is it's massive.
It's Friday, 27th of July, otherwise known as payday, my least favourite time of the month. We've not missed payroll once during my time in business, but it's getting tougher. Usually we're paid by before 9 o'clock in the morning, but because I'm still chasing a couple of clients, we've only paid half the staff at the minute. So I've got the other half to pay. Hopefully the clients will come good and will get us over the finish line, but there's an awful lot of stress involved. You've got to be really careful that you don't come across too desperate when you're chasing clients. You don't really want to give away too much as to the state of the business, because things get misinterpreted and misunderstood by a lot of people.
I go from working at 100% flat out to 5% depressed. And the rest of that time is just putting out little mini fires. When those fires have been put out and I'm left to then, right now I can grow my business, the energy levels are low.
If the money had come in on time, I wouldn't be having this chat. But that plays heavily on you psychologically. It's a massive amount of stress, and it takes up a lot of time. Not just physically sending emails, making phone calls, chasing, planning, strategizing, but also just those kind of moments that you have where you're thinking and you're trying to settle your mind, you're trying to remain focused on what needs to be done, as in getting the money through. And that takes up a lot of time as well, but it's non-tangible stuff. It's, you can't, I don't have anything to show for the amount of mind space that I have to allocate to this monthly dance of getting cash in to pay staff and pay rent and all the overheads that a business of this size has. It's the first time I've ever, on the day of paying at 11:15, which is in the minute, that I've actually been short on payroll. But like I say, hopefully in the next couple of hours that will all get sorted, and hopefully the team will understand. Most of them being paid, it's just those that haven't. Hopefully they'll understand and we can get the cash through as quick as possible. So here we go, the cash flow fight and dance with clients continues.
Anybody who's been through difficult times in life, whether it's business life or anything, will understand what I'm saying. If you're just not in the mood, if your head's not in the right space, and some people are different. I'm quite a strong character. I'm usually really good and confident with things, and even now, even going through really difficult times and stress, I'm still able to handle that to a certain level. But I think for one person to cope with everything that I was going through was really, really difficult, and it had a massive knock-on effect.
Last week, I've had to seriously consider the R word, redundancies within the business, because we're running out of cash.
So the moment I realised that I was going to have to make people redundant, that happened way before I actually made people redundant. It's just that my heart jumped in, and it was a case of I'll just hang on because I know I can get through this.
I think Danny was just kind of clinging on for dear life, hoping that that money would come through and we wouldn't have to do any of that.
It's taken too long to get the money through, and I have a responsibility as the head of the business to keep the business alive and keep it thriving and to keep it going. And sometimes you have to swallow your pride, you have to get over yourself, you have to put your business hat on, and you have to be cruel to be kind, and that could involve taking a couple of steps back, which means redundancy. So hopefully that it won't come to that, but this week is a very important week. If we don't get 60-70% of that overdue cash that's due in through the door, then I'm going to have to start taking action to balance the books.
So if you take the payroll out of the overall operational costs, actually the company's running really efficiently. We don't have overly expensive office. We don't have overly expensive subscriptions to anything. It's literally it's a really tight ship. The biggest expense is the payroll. So I knew instantly that when we needed to make cutbacks, it was going to be payroll.
Hi, so it's been a very difficult week this week. Lots of cash flow issues, thoughts of redundancies in the business may still be a possibility. I'm still waiting for one of our clients to come through with a major payment on money they owe us. It's Thursday, it's the 2nd of August. So hopefully by close of play tomorrow, we'll have that money in the bank and we can start replanning and strategizing. If we don't get that money through tomorrow, it's going to be a bit of a headache.
There was I think we did have a meeting like about a month prior.
Cash flow is quite tight at the minute. Very, very tight. It's always tight. It's a constant battle month in, month out to make sure that we're earning enough to survive. We've had big issues recently with a major client of ours who hasn't paid for most of the year, and it was a significant amount of cash, and we did well to survive it. We did well to dodge a few bullets as a result of it. That client's now paying again, so we're starting to catch up, and we're now seeing that hole filled, which means I can actually start to push forward a bit harder with stuff. But we're probably a year behind as a result of this lack of cash, which is a shame, and it's frustrating, and it's, you know, I could sit here and get angry about it and frustrated, but at the end of the day, you know, these things are put here to challenge us, and instead of burying your head in the sand and worrying about it, you just lift your chin up and you crack on.
So I'm working from home most days now, 4.5 days a week. In fact, I'm in the office a couple of hours on a Monday, usually, just to catch up. Haven't been in this week. And it's good that I work from home because I'm not having an easy time of it at the minute, if I'm honest.
It's weird. We always seem to have like a bit of a kind of intuition, I suppose you'd call it. Like everybody's just like, something doesn't feel right kind of thing. And I think it's because of a simple thing as like Danny probably not being in as much.
Who wasn't in the office a great deal, like unusually not in the office.
When your boss doesn't show to work, it's kind of, you know, something's up.
So it's a bit of a head mess at the minute because I've spent so many years all energetic, all optimistic, chasing the dream, building the empire, not looking over my shoulder, and just trying to make a go of it, that I think naturally that most people that are like that, that are optimistic and full of energy 99.9% of the time, I think they're bound to have moments where there's a bit of a come down, there's a bit of a reality sets in, that things aren't as always as positive and as optimistic, that there are downsides to life, to business, to just things generally. And I think you also add age to that. I'm in my early 40s now, I'm 42, I'm starting to think about life a little bit more, I'm starting to think about where I'm heading. 10 years ago, I wasn't bothered about not being hugely successful and having loads of money in the account and having cars and houses and all that, because I knew I was building something. Whereas I think now, 10, 15 years later, I'm kind of looking at what I'm building and thinking, and probably getting a little bit impatient with it now. Things take time to grow. I mean, the business as it is at the minute is really only started to catapult in the last couple of years. But I was laying the foundations for where the business is at many, many years before. So there's a lot of work and effort, blood, sweat and tears gone into it, and it's not been easy. So I think what's happened is there's probably a little bit of depression. I've not been to a doctor, it's kind of self-diagnosed, but I think there's a depression that's been sneaking in there over the last 12 months to 2 years, maybe even more, I don't know, that's setting in, which means it's tough to get out of bed in the morning. I used to be up early in the morning. I used to be, get on it and working 15 hours a day. I'm not quite working the 15 hours a day. I'm not getting out of bed bright and early. It's a struggle to get out of bed. I'll sit at my desk in the office and I know there's a load of things that I want to get done, I need to get done, but I just don't have either the energy, things aren't as clear as they used to be. And I think that's a sign of depression. So although I'm self-diagnosing, I know my body, I know my mind really well. I have self-awareness, so I know there's a problem. So I'm trying to figure out how I fix that problem. Being honest and open about it is, I think, half the battle. Admitting that there's a problem, for somebody I'm a very proud person, very stubborn. But I'm admitting that I have a problem. I'm admitting that I think I'm depressed. There's depression setting. Everybody would naturally just break down after a while. There has to be a moment where your body and your mind just goes, enough. I'm not eating very well. I don't exercise. I don't probably get out the house enough and do enough more social non-work things. Is it just an energy level thing? Is it exercise? Is it bad diet? I don't know. Have I lost interest in the business? Has my heart fallen out of love with what I've spent the last God knows how long doing? And I think that's the problem, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. My to-do list, there's been things on my to-do list now for weeks that I should have done ages ago, and I can't look after the business and anybody else until I take a step back, concentrate on me, on what I want in life, in my health, my mental well-being,
And then, and only then, can I do the things that I really want to do in business. It was Kat who was the COO at the time. She did her and Saxon did as the senior member of the team, they did the redundancy process. So the minute we're bringing people into the room, the first, I can't remember who was made redundant first, but obviously they leave the room and they're all upset obviously and disappointed, and then that then spreads throughout the team, and then the whole team are worried about is it them next. And it was a terrible day, and it's not a day that I intend to go through, touch wood, ever again. It was just awful, but it had to be done because there were other mouths to feed in the business, and it was literally one of those decisions. We either make those redundancies or the business goes under.
It like just rocks your world a bit. You know, you're a bit uncomfortable.
So yesterday we had to let 4 people go from the business, redundancies. Never an easy thing to do, something that I've been holding off doing for probably way too long, if I'm honest. I should have probably done it sooner to save the business, but yesterday was D-Day. We basically gave one of our clients who owes us a significant amount of money, we basically gave them till yesterday to come up with something, and they didn't come up with anything. They had nothing for us, which meant that added even more pressure to the cash flow, to the finances, and so I had to make the decision. And so, working with my senior team, we reviewed the business, looked at every position in the business to figure out who was at risk of redundancy, and then there's a whole process to go through. Obviously, we have to get HR involved, and then we have to do the deed of making people redundant, which is never easy. There's always tears, there's disappointment. Obviously, pride gets in the way. Obviously, I've been promised, I've been kind of, building team morale, showing people what we're planning on doing in the future, and then to have to take a giant step back is soul destroying, and it's not an easy thing to have to go through, if I'm honest.
It's not like we poorly managed the flow of money or anything. It was literally, if they don't pay you, you're kind of screwed.
So the main lessons I've learned through that difficult period were very careful with the recruitment process. We were very offensive as a company, growing really quick, reinvesting profit, whereas now I'm very much more, let's get the debt cleared, let's focus on that, let's get debt free, let's get 3 months of operating costs in front, let's not over hire at the minute. I mean, we're recruiting at the minute, but that's because we have to, and that's because the sales are there to justify that. Also, act quicker. So if it's redundancies, be quicker, or if it's having to fire somebody because they're not delivering for the company, then do that quicker too. So just speed and efficiency, I think, is probably the biggest things. Because at the end of the day, if the business fails in any way of any scale, it's my fault. It's nobody else's. It's not Mrs. H's fault in HR because she didn't do her job properly. The reason she didn't do her job properly was because I wasn't coaching her properly or managing her properly. So it's my fault. Hence the reason I think I need to just be a little bit tougher on the management side of things to get what I want, believing in what I want and need to grow this business.